on leadership for new economic realities. We have a stellar panel developed for you as well here. I'd like to invite one by one our panel members to come and take their place on the stage. If I could invite Mr. Yousaf Hussain. Mr. Yousaf Hussain is President and CEO of Faysal Bank since 2017. I'll invite instead Ms. Saadia Naveed. She is currently Deputy Managing Director of EBM, and her career with EBM spans almost 2 decades. Saadia also represents the boards of National Foods Limited, Sanofi Aventis, Shield Corporation, AKUH Corporate Committee, etc. She's also on the board of Management Association of Pakistan. Ms. Saadia served as the first ever female president of MAP from 2013 till 2015, and that's a significant feather in her cap, certainly. Saadia has also been a recipient of Marketing Excellence and Wonder Woman of the Year awards for her contributions to business excellence in Pakistan. Thank you, Saadia. I'd like to invite Ms. Saira Awan Malik. Ms. Saira currently is serving as president of TCS Private Limited. Saira is a corporate lawyer by training, and from 2009 to 15, she worked at the London office of international law, the law firm Cleary, Gottlieb, Steen and Hamilton, focusing on corporate and financial transactions across and cross-border mergers and acquisitions. She's a founder member of the British Pakistani Lawyers Association and is a member of the board of Pakistan Society for Training and Development. Saira is an alumnus of Yale University, University of Cambridge, and Columbia Business School, to name a few. Thanks, Saira. Mr. Hamayun Sajjad. Mr. Hamayun Sajjad is the Chief Executive Officer of Mashreq Bank, Pakistan. He served as Group Chief of Digital Banking at the National Bank of Pakistan and played a crucial role in the establishment of UBL Digital. He also served as head of digital banking at, Hamayun was one of the founding members of Easy Pesa, a pioneering digital banking service in Pakistan. He has been recognized as one of Asia's top 100 fintech leaders for his outstanding work in financial technologies and exceptional leadership skills. Thank you, Hamayun. Mr. Syed Anis Ahmed. Syed Anis Ahmed Saab is the Chief Executive Officer of Abbott Laboratories, Pakistan. Previously, he has served as CFO at Abbott as well. He has over 25 years of experience in senior commercial and financial roles and has provided his guidance to leadership across different functions. Anis has also served as President of American Business Council and Chairman of Pharma Bureau, where he played a major role in highlighting different issues faced by the pharmaceutical industry. Thank you, sir, for being here. I'd like to invite Mr. Yousaf Hussain, President and CEO, Faysal Bank. Mr. Yousaf Hussain comes with an extensive professional background spanning over 3 decades. His association with Faysal Bank dates back to August 2008, holding senior management positions within corporate and investment banker, special asset management, and risk management groups. Prior to joining Faysal Bank, Mr. Hussain held senior managerial positions at ABN AMRO, primarily within the corporate banking space. He has had the honor of being at the helm during transformational journey of Faysal Bank from a conventional to a completely Islamic bank, and I'm sure he's going to share some of those insights with us. Moderating this panel is Sajjeed Aslam. We've had the pleasure of him moderating a session before, and I'm sure that we're going to have a good time this time as well. Sajjeed, you have an hour. Take it away.
Assalamu alaikum, and very good afternoon. Guys, we just had lunch, so we expect certain energy. Or shall we go with the exercises and raising the hands? None? So can we hear back something as an energy one? Good, thank you. I think when we talk about the emerging areas, and specifically when we are talking about the leadership and the new economic realities, let's try to define the scope within which we will be talking about. What are those economic realities? So if you look at the couple of years back, or maybe 5 to 10 years, we see significant capabilities which the leaders have to demonstrate in terms of their adaptability and resilience. And these are the two key words. And some of the learning which we see from there is the shifting economic models. Like Dr. Syed was talking this morning. Now we are planning for a longer term, and the business model and technology and everything changes within the 12 months. So how we are really gonna adapt to those changes which are moving very, very fast. And then the second part are the conflicts. We are seeing a lot of conflicts around the world. Some conflicts we have seen like in the form of the wars. Some conflict we are seeing in terms of the tug war of the power around the world. So that's another area which is evolving and emerging. And the business leader have to really respond that in terms of how they are going to make their business resilient enough to survive that kind of change. Another area which we learned is the epidemics, the COVIDs. Chat GPT just changed everything. Whether the education system will remain the same, whether we still have to memorize everything, or Chat GPT is reliable enough to provide us information with a more ease. All those things are the new challenges as well as opportunities for the leaders to really emerge their business and make sure their business are striving there. So we will use some of the context from the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report as well, that what they are suggesting, what can change. Climate is definitely one of a part of a conversation. We cannot complete any conversation without really addressing the climate vulnerability. And like again, this morning we were discussing, there was 9 tipping points and 6 tipping points are already emerged now. So where we go from there. So I'll open it up with the Yousaf from your side. There are 2 things we would like, and that's practically highlighted as well. There's a big shift in terms of the Faysal Bank from a conventional to Islamic. That's a one thing. The second part is the technological change which happened at the same time. So what's your view, how you will share your experiences? Because it's not an easy journey. It was a big commitment to start with, and then executing it in a way, the way Faysal Bank has done it, I think that's itself is one of a success story we will be seeing as a case study in many other universities in the world.
Ji, thank you. Thank you for inviting me over here. So, yes, Faysal Bank's conversion is one of its kind, and it's actually created history in the world that such a large bank, a running bank, growing and converting at the same time. But you know, the story really doesn't end over here. Typically speaking, Islamic banks, the reputation has been that they would probably be not as technologically savvy, or they will not have such products which are sort of meeting the customer requirements. So I think those days are really gone. Now any bank, may it be Islamic, may it be conventional, I think the reach to the customer, the convenience that the customer demands, the personalized sort of service, products that suit the requirements, they are a given. And so, like any other bank, Faysal Bank has also simultaneously heavily invested in technology, and digital remains a focus. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, the issue has been that because of the tax reasons, many people do not want to be documented. So the digital side has not taken off. The number of accounts you see, there are a lot of accounts, but on the volumetric side, unfortunately, because of these considerations that people don't want to be in the tax net, you don't see very many volumes in terms of being targeted through the digital space. That is a problem, industry-wide problem. But I think this is only a question of time, because if you see that the government's focus is also there in terms of digitizing the economy, and buying, selling, e-commerce, everything is being sort of tightened up. So at Faisal Bank as well, we are sort of really gearing up to this technological sort of change that is happening around us. It may take some time, maybe 2-3 years for us to, for any bank for that matter, to be totally in that space. The model is going to probably transform. The branches, the size of the branches is going to probably reduce. The operational requirements are going to be met through digital side. The branches are going to be more like financial supermarkets where you are selling your own products as well, and you have alliances with other product partners as well. So the space and the buying behavior, I think, is going to change. So we are also, being a leading Islamic bank, we think that this is going to play a role, and we are really sort of gearing up to that.
And thank you, Yousaf sir. And by the way, I'm a very proud customer of the Faisal Bank, and I've seen the transition on a one-way, and I've seen your B2B platform transition as well. And that was the only solution, being a global company, which we can use in terms of the banking side. And it's big enabler, I'm sure, for other companies as well. And Yousaf, I'll start with you from that side, and I'll come straight in the middle then. Pharmaceutical. There are 2 or 3 words which comes once we talk about pharmaceutical: regulatory regime, ethical dilemmas, and then the customer expectations. So how you are handling that regulatory regimes, the ethical dilemmas, which we have seen particularly during the COVID, it was highlighted a lot from a pharma side, and the customer who expect the things to happen in a certain way. So how you are really like integrating all these 3 things at the moment?
Thank you, Talib Saab, for giving me this opportunity to share pharma perspective. So we have been talking about the Nazuk more right from the beginning, so I'll try and cover this Nazuk more also in pharma. And I'll start with the regulatory landscape, Sajjad, because I think that's very, very critical. As you might be aware that pharma is highly regulated. When I talk about regulation, it also includes pricing, which is controlled. So you are faced with a different dilemma when you face devaluation, ever highest inflation, and increasing raw material prices in the international market, and when you see your prices are fixed. So the only calculation is that you see your products getting unviable, you see your infrastructure becoming expensive, and you see your bottom line eroding like anything. So that's a very simple calculation to have. And if you're an MNC or even if a local company, you get pressure from headquarters also as to what is going to be the future. And you might have observed that a lot of MNCs exited from Pakistan, especially in pharma segment. In locals also, they scaled down their operation, and some of them shut down their operation as well. But I'll share my own story, what we did. We also faced a similar situation when it comes to the regulatory challenges. But we kept investing. We kept investing in our manufacturing footprint. We kept investing in our commercial footprint. We kept bringing in new products. You talked about consumer expectation, and we always kept consumer at the heart of whatever we are doing. So it was all insight driven. It was all related to what the unmet needs are and how we can help. So was that so easy? No, it wasn't. Because when you are in MNC structure, when you see your remittances are now going out of Pakistan, when headquarters see your bottom line eroding, so you get all kind of pressure. One of the common thing that I have observed, not in most of the MNCs exit in Pakistan, but in some, that was related to leadership. And if you're not convinced about the potential of your country, if you're not positive about the future of your country, and if you only rely on giving excuses to headquarters, the only way out is exiting from Pakistan. So what becomes the role of leader is to create a culture where people, because in Pakistan, if I tell you that everything is hunky-dory, it's a very stable environment, it's not. Asfar was talking about 48 years of his life, that what he has seen in Pakistan. Pakistan more or less remained like the same. Ehsan Saab talked about नाजुक मोड़ पे हमें पता होता है कि मुड़ना कहाँ है. So we have seen these नाजुक मोड़ as far as my career goes, and we know how to and कहाँ से मुड़ना है और कैसे मुड़ना है. Meaning navigating through these tough times in this situation. So these uncertainties, ambiguities, or complexities remain norms of doing business in Pakistan. As a leader, what is important for us, how we inculcate the mindset in the organization where they don't come up with excuses, rather they come with solutions, where they have scenario building in place and they think that what can go wrong and that anticipatory things come handy. So if they have this mindset of anticipation as to what can go wrong, what is going to be our option A, option B, option C, then I think organizations are in a different situation. So I tell you that, and as for mentioned about the support that we got during the caretaker setup, because everything was price controlled, everything was, our hardship cases were stuck, but we kept engaging with the regulators, we kept engaging with the government at all levels, we kept engaging with any stakeholder that you name it, and seeing that there were no results, and that was a journey of number of years. But I'm very happy to share with you that what happened, we remained intact. We kept bringing in the new products in line with what consumer requirements are. We kept investing in the technology as well. We kept expanding as well, because it was not about our bottom line only, it was about our patients as well. We wanted to make sure that they have access to quality medication and they are not suffering from the shortages of the products. But in the end, as Asfar was mentioning, recently we got this almost 50% of our portfolio is deregulated now. So prices are not controlled for those 50%. The rest are still highly regulated, which we are discussing with the government. So the key message is that in a difficult situation like this, I think it's entirely up to leadership as to how you communicate with your team, how you communicate with your headquarters, how you communicate with the regulators and show them what value you can add if something is done at the regulatory level. And I see a great future for pharmaceutical in coming days, because this deregulation will take this to a different level. At the same time, I like to mention that when you're talking to your headquarters, you can't just give them the wadas only and claims that this is what you need to deliver also. So in those difficult times, we kept delivering, we kept outperforming the market, and we kept delivering on our commitment. And that's the reason we are in an expansion mode. We are expanding, we are hiring people, we are investing in our manufacturing footprint, and I'm very positive about the future of Pakistan and also the pharmaceutical segment.
Now, thank you very much. And we will come back to the ethical questions, definitely. Yeah. We are not going to let it go associated with the pharma sales side, because that's one of a learning which we want the local companies to understand at the same time. Sorry, coming to your side, particularly picking up on the logistic, which is a backbone for any particular business. And if you look at the current scenario, where everything one way or other is dependent going on e-commerce, and then the organizations like yours become very relevant there, and their innovation actually drive the entire rest of the ecosystem, because that's the last mile where you control that. So how you see in this emerging economy and emerging scenarios where the cost is becoming very difficult, keeping people motivated, given the cost of living side, that's people issue is an important one. The fuel prices are totally unpredictable, and then the dollar depreciation or PKR depreciation that lead to a big risk and confusion around the capex side, right? So putting everything together, how you are really integrating these things and how you are emerging the new business model within your company. इसको ऑन कर लीजिएगा साइड से.
जी, thank you for that question. Assalamu alaikum everyone. देखिए, logistics sector में एक तो the challenges that you have highlighted, the macroeconomic challenges, of course they are there, but there are certain other specific challenges that the logistics sector in Pakistan particularly faces that I just want to highlight for the sake of our audience so that there's a more holistic understanding. उसमें ये है कि logistics contributes about, particularly transportation, contributes about 13% to GDP and about 6% to overall jobs. However, when we look at the World Bank Logistics Performance Index, Pakistan did not even feature in the 2023 rankings. And that begs the question, what is wrong with logistics in Pakistan? And there are a few high-level points that I just want to mention. When we look at the logistics infrastructure, which is the entire infrastructure of road, rail, sea, transportation, and air transportation, there is a lack of investment in the infrastructure, which is wholly inadequate and outdated. For example, in most countries, the rail system is a huge contributor to logistics efficiency, and in Pakistan, it just cannot contribute towards that. So 95% of domestic freight transportation takes place on the road network, which is also then further subject to it's a very fragmented sector, trucking. There's a lack of investment in fuel efficient, modernized vehicles. Very few players have proper fleets. There's lack of access to financing opportunities for developing these fleets. So what you see is, at least in road transportation, which I mentioned is the bulk, you see a very bulky, very clunky and inefficient system that is, in operation. There's also, when you look beyond the first mile and we look at the mid-mile, which is, the sort of section of the logistics value chain where, there is warehousing, there's opportunities for efficient distribution management systems, etc. We see a lot of potential for creating efficiencies there as well, because that is also something which is largely fragmented and there's no overall policy for that. And then we come to the last mile. And so TCS operates in all three of these segments. And, with a lot of these inefficiencies, we certainly see a lot of opportunity for further enhancement in terms of the use of technology. So when we talk about warehousing, for example, the use of warehousing automation can certainly increase efficiency. Even the use of technologies like artificial intelligence, for example, can be deployed at the right time for predictive analytics, for managing inventory management, route optimization, etc., which can then, these are the efficiencies that we can pass on to the customer. What we see increasingly is that our customers, our large customers, including those in the auto, pharma, FMCG sectors, are seeing third-party logistics as an outsourced operation in order to manage their own core operations. And so that is the opportunity, that is what we are gearing up for, and really expanding our footprint in that area. We see a great opportunity in transit trade, in regional trade, regional connectivity, which again is subject to a number of macro factors, such as when we look at Pakistan to Central Asian trade, for example, that is beholden, of course, to geopolitical realities. We have set up our own office in Tashkent. We have already done 300 commercial loads as per the TIR convention, but we are held hostage to, when the Salang Pass or the Khunjra Pass is shut, it obviously causes a big backlog for us as well, which in turn impacts the supply chains of our customers. So it's these sort of issues. Last mile, I just want to mention, again, with the growth of e-commerce, last mile is of increasing interest. We see, of course, that the natural challenges in last mile are cash management, because we are still a very cash-based economy, and there's increasing demand from customers for transparency, investment in technology. But Pakistan also faces other challenges like bad addresses. There's a trust deficit between e-commerce merchants and the end consumer. And as the logistics service provider sitting in the middle of this transaction, we see a lot of challenges that fall to us. So this is sort of just a broad overview, but we can talk about any of these.
I think that's an important one, and particularly logistic is definitely a sector which does not recognize the way it should have been. Like I was in Saudi very recently, and Pepsi just said they are going to buy 2 electric truck for transportation. The entire Saudi government is there. They want them to buy it. They want to facilitate them. They want to showcase it that how the country is moving toward the electric vehicle. So I think these are the kind of response they expect from the when somebody is trying to make these innovative investment, which is high risk. They need that kind of recognition as well. But we will come back to micro export later, particularly because that's what where the China has seen a boom, and there are many other countries who have seen the boom, and that was all about those logistics and the stuff which the way they have created the agreements and the overall infrastructure. Saadia, coming to you, and the food is one of a key area. Everybody loved that, but at the same time, given the more awareness we are getting into, whether it's a environment concern or a health concern, or the challenges in terms of the access to the right kind of raw material. So there are a lot of things which have changed over the period, and there are a lot of different kind of consumer demand which we are seeing again and again. And sometimes people, without having a right knowledge, they are very, very vocal on a certain subject, and then it becomes a challenge for the businesses or the industry as a whole. So I think this, with the internet and the social media access, we have seen a lot of scenarios where the things have gone disproportionately in a wrong side, or they have raised in a very different way, and that has affected the business. So how you as a leader for that businesses, and while you are touching the souls and a very young one as well, I remember, so how you are really managing all those things and the risk at the same time?
Thank you, Sajjad, and thank you very much for inviting me. Um, well, being the market leader and a thought leader, I think, and whoever is a thought leader should be thinking about what is the most important aspect for their growth and for sustainability. So for us, and I think for all FMCGs, consumer is the king. So consumer preference is very, very important. So at EBM, we have we do a lot of get a lot of insight about the consumer preferences, and so it is again two consumers that I think of. One is again an intelligent consumer, and one is, because we, with a 240 million population and reaching out to the masses, where we all know what the education level is. So the literacy, the education becomes very important for them. What is that we are offering is the qualitative, the right product, and awareness being given to them. Whereas when we talk of the youth, the educated, and the urban youth, so we talk about their preferences, and their preference today is what? They do want to be part of an organization which is purposeful and has an impact, and is also moving towards the sustainability and the environmental development. So these are things, and as far as EBM is concerned, this has been our ethos. And it is not today, it is from day one. This has been the vision, the value of the philosophy of EBM. So we have worked upon our purpose, as we all know today, is nourishing lives, hearts, and communities. So these three areas that we are working at is nourishing lives, is again to do with whether we have a positive impact towards the economy, where the food needs are concerned. So biscuit becomes a very important food need, and we are bringing in a lot of positive impact from many years. Whenever there is a challenge, whenever there is a turmoil, whenever whatever, food, I think biscuits and our similar products are the ones which are mostly available and are liked. Secondly is, again, we talk of the environment, we talk of the nourishing the planet. So what all that we have done to nourish that, and that comes the good part, or one can say the vision, and how to move with the Western world, or to move in the global world, that whether somebody here understands that or not, but what is it that we are looking at that we have to adapt. So like nourishing the planet, yes, not today, but we've done investments since like past 20 years. We've been working on renewable energy solutions, alternate solutions, on today, of course, the heat recoveries and the solar panels and the carbon footprint. Everything is being worked upon. And good organizations, I feel, if they want to be sustainable and to be consumer preferred, they have to work on this model. And besides that, when we talk of the nourishing communities, so like again, that brings in the diversity, the equity, and the inclusion. And EBM is spot on that, where we have policies relating to family policies and how we can have a very comfortable workplace where women, genders, they are there in a comfortable environment. So, and other than that, what we are doing for communities is again the working with the UN SDG goals, and of course, education being the most important, and women empowerment. The education, like we have started this campaign on Educate a Girl, which is a child, a girl child. So from there, I think that it's futuristic. It is again for the future of the country. Maybe we are not there, but at least we will see some change in the country with all the efforts that we are doing. So these are very important aspects which has made us sustainable. I remember in 2003 when the WTO regime was being imposed, like we not being a massive export-oriented organization, which today we are because the balance has to be made. Still, we went into the environment with the ISO 14,000, which, and there are so many other which are mandatory. So these are the things that I think an industry should be thinking of for the better future of Pakistan.
No, thank you. And I think one of a very bold move 4 or 5 years back from EBM is to bring everyone within their value chain into the documented economy, and that's a very big commitment where you are working with a sector which is coming a lot from the informal in terms of the supply as well as from a distribution. And that was a very, very bold move and commitment, and you have done very well on that. So I think that's also one of a success story when we talk about EBM. It's not only what you do on a sustainability and otherwise, taking that kind of commitment and delivering on that is also important. Hamayun, coming to you, we picked up initially on one thing which is around the conflicts, right? And then the geographical and political conflicts which are happening around the world. You being one of a global company and working specifically in a financial market, which is a more sensitive in terms of the pricing and those conflicts and the money which may be passing on. So how as a group, you are handling those particular situations where the business has a one risk, your client has got a different risk, and there's a lot of demand coming in, which is in a normal one, it doesn't exist. But during the conflict and geopolitical scenarios, which we are seeing here, there are a lot of regulations which are coming in as well. FATF, there are a lot of clients which are not happy with those kind of regulations, and they have a different kind of demand. So how your group is handling that?
Yeah, thank you, Sajjeed. Before I answer that, I think I want to share a personal story and probably grab your attention for some of interesting things that you'll learn from my response. And this personal story is about why did I actually join Mashreq Bank. The CEO and chairman of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, recently said economic and political scenarios are like weather. You can't blame them. You have to be prepared to face them. And there are two interesting waves in banking industry. One that started sometime, originally it started from 2009 when PayPal and Square in US started building fintechs, but it came to banks around 2014-15 when large banks like Barclays and Citi and Goldman Sachs, they started shutting down their branches in the wake of digital banking. And there was this thought process that the banking would vanish and it'll be just digital and banks would become transparent. Looking at that, Mashreq Bank in UAE started grappling with the idea of digital transformation. And at the core of this digital transformation was the fact that the owner, founder of this bank was also the CEO from Al Ghurair family. And the guy who was the CEO of Mashreq Bank in UAE was CEO for 30 years. And the reason I'm sharing this is for a fact that the transformation can only happen if the sponsors and the key stakeholders in the management really decides for this to. And we have a recent example from Faysal Bank that the transformation really became successful when Yousaf led it from the front. So Mashreq Bank in 2016 made a digital transformation strategy. 2017, they launched the Neo Bank, which was digital bank, while their brick and mortar 57-year-old bank was still in the motion. The bank decided to shut down 50% of its branches in 2019. 50% of its branches. A 60-year-old bank in UAE, very, very bold move. But it was only possible because this was led by the owner himself. And he was back then the CEO as well. In 2020, the cost to income ratio of UAE Mashreq Bank was 57.3%. And the return on equity, average equity, was close to 9 or 10%. And this was always 9 to 10% for last 10 years. Now, the way this transformation panned out for the bank, it was a combination of making sure that there were a right decision into technology, people, culture, change. It's more about mindset and less about technology. And it was the right decision making. So all of those culminated. The bank in 2023 had the cost to income ratio of 30.9 from 57.3. The return on equity of the bank, as per our annual reports, is 34.9%. Unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. And today, 85% of the branches are no more in UAE of Mashreq Bank. And looking at the geopolitical situation in UAE, you must have seen our, I won't name it, but you must have seen UAE embracing different nationalities and countries. And there was a sentiment, somewhat positive for some nationalities and somewhat negative in the Muslim world as well. And to balance that out, bank also decided where large banks were consolidating, bringing their bank to home country, Mashreq decided, because they have a formula of making a cookie cutter digital bank and taking this bank to other geographies, the bank launched in Mashreq, in Egypt, and also it decided to expand in Pakistan and recently in Oman. It's that formula, because of that leadership, that thought process, that we have to stay relevant. But remember, we never let go of our physical presence. We never let go of our relationship management. The bank today has 2 trillion dirham worth of deposits. The bank's advances to deposit ratio is 78%. That's the way bank is contributing in the geographies it is operating. We have recently launched a bank which is invisible in Etisalat's ecosystem in Egypt. They have 35 million customers. The bank is entirely within Egypt's lifestyle app. You don't see Mashreq's logo even. And then there is also a similar e-commerce player called Noon, something like Daraz in Pakistan. There is Noon debit card. There is Noon embedded banking. We call it banking as a service. So all of these things, when I got the opportunity to become part of Mashreq, and this is the personal story that I wanted to share, this is the recipe that can actually bring a positive change in the banking industry in Pakistan, and no better opportunity for somebody like me to lead that in the country.
Now, thank you, Hamayun. I think that's very inspiring, and that's also bring out the bold and the long-term vision which somebody can carry. And that's bring a challenge, Hamayun brings a challenge to you, Yousaf, that this is how the banking is evolving. And we have got Faysal Bank, which has gone to a one transformation, going to a second one. How you see the employees moving towards the hybrid working and the branches moving towards more digital, that significant cultural change. Uh, do you see that happening and taking that as one of a key pillar for the next 3 to 5 year strategy?
You know, it's very difficult to actually transform an existing bank into a digital bank, okay? Uh, so you have to really create a bank within a bank, okay? Because this digital world, and Humayun would know the best, I mean, it's these are these youngsters who want to create value, who want space to think of new things, who want to implement those new things very, very fast. Okay, so you have to basically provide them with the working space, the working environment, the technological and innovation sort of environment where they can think and where they can sort of make a difference. So if you see the market as well, so what is happening is very interesting, that the existing customers who have been traditionally working with the banking sector, a lot of them use apps, okay, but they use apps for their operational convenience, okay. You want to pay fees for your children, you use an app. You want to make a quick payment, you use an app, okay. When you want to do a large transaction, you want to buy a house, you don't use an app, okay, because the market really sort of is not conducive for that. I mean, even the you know the businesses they don't use apps for larger ticket transactions, okay. So it's an evolution that is happening. So there is this market which has got money, which has got volumes in terms of our businesses who are, I mean, they're technologically savvy, but I mean, just don't want to use the digital space because of certain other factors, which are primarily being taxed. And there is this new youth which is coming up, which actually just wants to use this, okay, for everything and anything. Unfortunately, in that space, the volumes do not exist at this point in time. So if you see the largest microfinance banks today, I mean, the deposit volume would be maybe 100 billion rupees or 80 billion rupees. So this is low value business, high margin business, high risk business that the microfinance banks or the smaller digital banks have ventured into. Now, in order to retain your own customers, you have to provide them for large banks. You have to provide them with that digital convenience, but that digital convenience is more for retention, is more for their operational ease, but not so much at this point in time for overall large ticket business transactions. Okay, so it is something that which is really sort of a requirement. Okay, but I think we have to realize is that our economy is going through an evolution. I mean, with 1.2 or 1.5 million people paying taxes only out of 250 million people, it's going to take us a while. So these journeys are intertwined in some ways, but these journeys are actually parallel journeys which have to be followed because the target market at this point in time is actually differentiated. So these are these youngsters, the fast-moving younger lot, Generation Z or even later, these are the people who are really into the digital space. But it's going to take them a while to make a significant difference, because unfortunately the volumes are not there. But this is not to belittle the digital move that and the bold digital moves that Humayun referred to. I think that's a part of the game. It will take them a little while, but it will happen. It will happen for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Yousaf. Thank you very much. I think the leadership, and when we are talking about these emerging scenario and new economy, the bold is one of a key theme which keep coming back to really navigate those changes and exist in that. And he's coming to you, and I left you with the wonderful question: the pharmaceutical globally, and that's not, I'm not talking about Abbott specifically. Ethics and the ethical sale is one of a key dilemma which they are facing. And during the COVID, we have seen what the pharmaceutical has, how they have explored the certain opportunities, whether it was a right or wrong or need of that time. But these ethical dilemmas keep coming back, whether we are talking about the pricing, whether we are talking about incentivizing doctors or companies to really use certain medicines. How you are planning to handle this one? Because these are the things which are impacting reputation, and the young consumer, like Yousaf picked up the Gen Z and the Alpha generation, they react to that very differently compared to my generation or a previous generation used to react, right? So how you are really managing that reputation side of it?
Very good question. This is something that we face on a daily basis. But let me just tell you, and we always say this, that compliance is our biggest differentiator. And I'll quantify this as well. So we have a field force size which is like close to 500, but we are competing with companies who have field force size 5 times, 10 times, or even bigger. And as I mentioned earlier, we have been outperforming the market. We are gaining our market share. And we are, if you talk to our consumer, if you talk to HCPs, the only perception they'll have about our company for 2 reasons. One, the quality, and second is compliance. So when I talk to my field force, I tell them that this is our biggest strength. Yes, we have this societal dilemmas where we see a different shift in terms of values, but they are good people as well. And at the end of the day, it's all about patient interest. So what we have been telling them, and this is something which has zero tolerance in our company, there's no excuse for non-compliance. And I tell my team that you don't need to bend your rules. You don't need to follow something which other companies are doing. And you need to keep on working on highlighting the patient interest, create awareness about what our products are doing, and don't push it, because this is absolutely prohibited in our case. And as I mentioned that for the last number of years, we are outperforming, we are growing, and we are increasing our market share, and we are competing in a very difficult environment. And reputation, as you rightly said, is linked with majorly 2 things, quality and compliance. On the other side, Sajjad, and I think it's important to highlight that while we are working for our patients, at the same time we are developing pharmacists. In an inflationary environment like Pakistan, you know that people are not very keen to go to the doctors and spend money. So we see a changing role of pharmacists. So we are developing them. We are creating awareness about the disease, not about our product, about the disease and how they should be dispensing when patients are coming to them. And we are getting them trained through the best healthcare professionals in Pakistan. This is an area which was missing for a number of years, but we have been working on this area for like number of years now. So this is what I see is giving back to the society where we are, and this is something amazing for our pharmacists. At the same time, you talked about the COVID. If you recall, we were the first company to launch rapid COVID test, 5 minutes test. So at that time, and as I mentioned that we keep a customer at the heart of whatever we do. So we had, from diagnostic point of view, rapid test, then we had our medicine to boost the immunity. Then we had our medicine to cure the infection. Then we had our supplements, nutritional supplements to cater to the requirement of nutritional needs. Similarly, I'd like to highlight one more point, and that was part of our strategy as well. How do we collaborate with tech companies going forward? And something which is very relevant for Pakistan, you know that incidence of diabetes in Pakistan is 30%. We are probably the highest in the world. In terms of our ranking, we are number 3. What we have done, we have launched Freestyle Libre in Pakistan, which is continuous glucose monitoring system. And we have collaborated internationally with a company, so that will provide insulin delivery. So we have linked insulin delivery with our continuous glucose monitoring system, and that is going to change the life of patients. Even the continuous glucose monitoring system has changed the life in Pakistan because it's without pricking. It gives you the data, it gives you alert, it highlights you where your insulin level will go. So this is something that we are committed for. We keep on investing in Pakistan, we keep on investing in new technologies, and ethics and compliance will remain our differentiator and our strength. That's the way I see it.
No, thank you very much. And I think compliance is the one thing which most of the time we underestimate how it can be monetized. And monetizing the compliances and the investment which is going in that is an important dynamics there. Just one quick point, while you are working on the pharmacist training, are you collaborating with the industry? Rest of the industry is working with you to have that network effect to get to the more people and reduce the cost of doing that?
Not only that, Sajjad, we are working with regulators as well.
Yeah.
Like especially on ethics side, we are sharing with them the best practices and how they can implement in Pakistan, because at the end of the day, it's about patient interest.
Yeah.
If they are diagnosed with wrong kind of medicine, if they are diagnosed for, or if they are asked to get some tests done which are not required, it is not in patient interest. So I think what we are doing, we are talking to the regulators, we are making those changes in their policies. How do they make sure, and we are making sure that they implement it also. So while doing this, we have engaged with the local manufacturers, with the MNCs bodies as well. As you know that I've been chairman of Pharma Bureau, which is the MNC body of pharmaceutical companies. So we are trying to create this awareness that by doing this, it is not going to help the patient. So let's follow ethics and compliance. Let's ensure that we are safeguarding patient interests. Because what you're doing, even if you're monetizing, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, patient needs to see that he is cured. He or she is cured. If it is not, then it's not sustainable from that point of view also. It's a long journey. So either if I tell you that it's going to be easy, no. It's a tough situation because of the financial challenges, the socio-economic conditions. Things are difficult, but we are not hopeless. We are still working in this direction. We keep on driving it. And inshallah, we'll be there.
No, thank you. We will be coming back to questions from audience. We will just have a very quick round for a one question from here. But be prepared for a one question. At least we will take 1 or 2 questions for the audience. Just highlight who you are, who you want to address that question to, and that will help us to take it forward. Saira, coming to you, particularly on a micro export. How you as a TCS evaluate that as one of our opportunity, particularly when we are looking at the micro export, we are talking about a lot of transportation of a micro packages, and then there will be a certain criticism around the carbon footprint it might generate, right? So how you see this as an opportunity, and how you see that as a one of a challenge or opportunity from a carbon footprint perspective?
So I'm going to pick up on some of the points that were mentioned by the other panelists as well. But, in our company, we annually deliver about 150 million shipments throughout the length and breadth of Pakistan in every locality that you can think of. While we talk about digital and we talk about digital transformation, what is happening is that, things need to move. So we move things, but of course, people are increasingly digitally connected. And so when we look at digital transformation, we have to really think about, what is our future strategy and how can we become more efficient, both for ourselves internally and also for our customers. In addition, when we talk about infrastructure, and some of the panelists mentioned, particularly from the context of digital banks, there is this move towards reducing one's physical infrastructure and physical footprint the bricks and mortar footprint. But from our perspective, actually, our physical infrastructure is our core strength, and it is not something that we are likely to scale back. But what we do need to do is we need to figure out strategies to redeploy and re-engineer. So when we talk about our hubs, when we talk about our express center network across 2,000 locations in Pakistan, we need to be thinking in terms of, can these be used as e-commerce return centers? Can our logistics hubs then become smart logistics hubs for efficient and effective parcel sorting and inventory management and distribution centers, etc.? So that's on, one strategy that we have is to look at our physical infrastructure and figure out how to actually redeploy it and modernize it. Secondly, when we talk about, the digitization process, in addition to creating internal efficiencies, when we look at our customers, of course, I had mentioned warehouse automation as one area where we are increasingly focused, but also when we look at our last mile customers, there is a demand that we are seeing of greater transparency, visibility, the traceability and trackability of e-commerce shipments. So that's another area that we're focused on. Convenience for customers in terms of pickup and delivery options. So that is definitely an area of focus. You also mentioned in passing, the challenges one faces with human capital, and we are a very human capital intensive, manual driven, unfortunately, but the nature of our business is such that we do have to be reliant on people and their efficiency. So really driving an efficient and motivated workforce is both a challenge and an opportunity, and where we're tackling with it. And lastly, what I would mention is in this environment, in the macroeconomic environment in which we operate, I think cost, cost, discipline around costs and cost-saving measures, etc., are of key focus. The logistics business is not a high-margin business. It depends on scale and volume, not on high margins. And therefore, for us, it is imperative that we really look at our expenditure and try to create those efficiencies, which we are doing. That is linked to sustainability. So currently, we're in the process of piloting electric bikes as well as electric vehicles in our three main cities, Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad. Of course, initially, there is a cost increase, but we are hoping that eventually it will lead to 20 to 30% reduction in savings in our in our fuel expenses, which is of course one of our core expense items. And the last thing I would just mention is that I think what a business like ours really relies on from the government is this desire that the government should support local enterprise, should support local champions, local businesses that are trying very hard to maintain their heads above water in such difficult economic environments. So really that's the sort of support, because I think Pakistan's role, both regionally and as I said, domestically, the demand for as e-commerce grows, etc. So logistics is a sector that is poised for growth, but we do need to be not supported in a financial way, but I mean supported in a way of being seen as a local champion. So that we are the ones who are providing. Pakistani businesses should not become outsourced service providers to external players who come in, but rather we should be the leaders in this field.
No, I think that's very well. I think in the morning we were talking about that the domestic players need to get a preference, and there has to be equitable ground, or sometimes we always say that the domestic should get a preference there somehow, because they have taken the risk and they have expanded the market there. Any question? Meanwhile, we go for the second one. Okay, so I'll come to you, Saadia, meanwhile. Traceability, and Saira highlighted that. The food is one of our business which require a very, now, particularly in the export side, they require you to have that kind of traceability, which you can really reflect and also provide assurance to your importer. So how you are using technology in your overall system to create that kind of comfort for your importer or for your export one, for that traceability side, whether ingredients are coming and how they are moving from one place to other.
As Saira said, that we've been also working on the model some years back on volumes and low margins. S- Keeping that aside, like your question, to answer your question is, like if we talk of the raw material that we are using in our product is all staple. That is wheat, sugar, and fat. Fat is something which is imported, palm oil, as we all know. But the main material is flour, which comes from wheat, and we all know the challenges that we face in the agri sector, which has to be addressed very diligently. And the IT and the technological advancements have to be brought into the system so that there is, and when we talk of, it's not only for us, because for our sustainability and for our survival, I don't think we'll ever be able to import the amount of tonnage that we are using in our biscuits, right? So it has to come from our own country. Or if suppose from the neighboring countries, provided the trade is open and we are able to, and the costs are very, very important, very critical. So it's a mix. So when we talk of the product, it is the sugar, the flour, and the fat, the major. When we talk of imports, the major imports in our product are flavors and all that, also because of the quality aspect, because of the trust that the customer has on us and what we have to put into our product. And other than that is the plant and equipment, which is why we are the leaders and why we are producing such beautiful biscuits, actually. So the thing is that, yes, during COVID, when uh, the supply chain disruptions were there. So for us, the imports was a major challenge, where we had to focus on how are we going to make up our material available for production, and if any plant and equipment is required, how are we going to manage that? And for that, again, going back to the philosophy, the values, like we believed in conservative financing. So if the company is cash rich and works on conservative financing, you have that capability to actually, like, instead of 2 orders, you can place 4 orders. So you do not, that disruption is managed that way. And the other thing is localization. When we are talking of the domestic industry, it's very important. And it's not only like, yes, COVID has taught us a lot, where we were able to replicate, duplicate, and even better machines were able to be made by our so our local industry was developed, where now we have switched actually from, say, those packaging machines which were all Italian and German to our locals. Of course, a few have to be, because again, that precision hasn't come in there that way. But this is one thing which has been done, where we are developing, and it's a very, very good thing. And this is what I think the government should also be supporting, all the local and the domestic players. And other than that, I think this
Thank
is
you.
actually, yeah.
Thank you, Saadia. I think we should not be waiting for another COVID to really support that local manufacturing and machinery.
Yeah.
I think this is something which we have seen it works. It's just that the big companies have to start getting in there and sharing that risk and provide that kind of quality. Hamayun, last question, until we get something from the audience. How you see the banking in the next 5 to 10 years? Yousaf have shared his view around how the big banks will be moving and how it will, how much time it might change. Pakistan, there is a lot of conversation from a microfinance bank to the digital bank to the large bank. And there are customer segments for every type of the banking services and facilities. So in your view, next 5 years, how the global banking will emerge and how it will impact Pakistan? Very quick one, 2 minutes.
साउंड सिस्टम वाला ने ऑन करना है तो फिर हो गया, चलें, गुड. वो कहते हैं ना कि मुश्किलें इतनी पड़ी कि आसान हो गई. To answer your question, let me actually in my head think about number of challenges that the banking industry will face in coming 5 to 10 years. Just did a quick count. I think I'd actually like to talk about 7 key challenges that the banking will face. The first one is cybersecurity. I hope most of you will understand that the ecosystem we live in, वो जो computerization start हुई थी, ये 1970s, 80s में start हुई. So we have an ecosystem where all of these technologies still exist, and then we have sophisticated technologies like the phone that I have in my hand. कहते ये हैं कि और हुमायूं can relate to this कि IBM का जो super computer था वो आज हमारी pocket में है. You know, that's the analogy everybody says. So जो cyber security है, hackers के लिए हम बड़ा अच्छा ground prepare करें because we are only adding patches, because we are in a rush to offer digital whatever, and in case of banking, digital banking to the market, be the first one. So we don't think about architecture and security in the way it is supposed to be, and we keep on adding layers after layers on the legacy architecture. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge, and I was just telling him that in recent times कोई ऐसी महफिल नहीं है जिसमें generative AI की बात ना हो. Generative AI has a two broad challenges. The first challenge is now all of us as customers have started to believe that computer starts to act like humans, और हम इनसे उर्दू इंग्लिश किसी में भी पूछ सकते हैं, and the computer will respond just like human. So that's a perception and that's not reality. So that's one challenge for banking. The challenge is people have started to expect banks to offer interfaces where we can request a service from bank in a human-like manner in a digital interface and expect the bank to respond and solve our problem. And the banking is far from that. The second problem is, और जैसा मौलवी साहब कहते थे ना कि तवज्जो चाहिए आपकी, I think it's very important for everybody to understand. Generative AI is a blown, well-blown data mining which we used to have a few years ago. और इसमें problem ये है कि generative AI ने crack ये कर लिया कि entire internet's data, and from a statistics point of view, the algorithm can take billions and trillions of variables. जब हम पहले algorithms बनाते थे तो उसमें 100 variables आते थे. So this data so far that is taken from internet is human generated. So it has a lot of value, empathy, and reality. However, now generative AI can generate data responses which is not generated by human. And there are challenges where the response from generative AI is not appropriate to the question or the problem we are throwing at it. So from a banking point of view, it becomes, from a compliance point of view, very difficult to have generative AI embedded in our digital banking, yet to make sure that it is prudent and risk averse. The third challenge is
we have to wrap it up.
Okay, I'll wrap it up as soon as possible. So the third challenge is risk modeling. Banks are all about making risk models. iPhone तो एक साल में एक आता था तो तब भी ठीक था. The traditional banking risk models are based on the historical data of decades of experience. अब वो irrelevant हो गया. The Nvidia's market cap just jumped in few weeks and months to $2 trillion. The fourth challenge that banking faces is the financial inclusion and exclusion. तो हमने डिजिटल बैंक के नाम पे बड़े फैंसी इंटरफेसेस एंड वी बिलीव कि हमने लाइफ आसान कर दिया है. इट इज़ सो डिफिकल्ट एंड पेनफुल टुडे, most of you can hopefully relate, to perform a simple bill payment or even log in into a mobile app if you forget your password. It is very complicated. So we have excluded banking customers from digital banking by making digital banking available to them. And then the financial inclusion, because there are pressures saying that digital gives ability for you to go large scale. It's easier said than done. It's not easy in a country like Pakistan to say we go large scale when in 60 million bank account holders, only 12 million use digital banking. The fifth challenge is environmental, social, and governance. There are policies and there are expectations businesses cannot operate. The Mr. Hudson, CEO of Sanofi, आपकी field से related है. The other day he said an adult in a year produces 16 tons of carbon emission. And a patient produces 48 tons. So a medicine which is curing the patient should now start thinking about curing the
Yeah, the environment.
conditions rather than fixing the ailment. And then, lastly, it's the talent. We need the right kind of talent that we.
No, thank you, Hamayun. Thank you very much. And I think you rightly pick up the 7 areas, and I'm sure Hamayun and rest of the panelists are still here. Try to grab them during the networking session. So big round of applause for them. Thank you, panelists. You were great panelists there. Thank you for the audience as well. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. If I could invite Mr. Talib Kareem and Mr. Sohail Wajahat to come on the stage for presentation of a memento to our guests. Also, if I could invite Mr. Hamayun Bashir onto the stage. So first off, Ms. Saadia Naveed. Just a minute. Ms. Saadia Naveed. Ms. Saira Awan Malik. Syed Anis Ahmed. Mr. Hamayun Sajjad. If we could have all the panelists together for a group photograph.